Today, I'm changing the oil on my 2016 Mazda 3. So this video is geared towards people with little or no experience to work on their cars, similar to myself. When it comes to changing your oil, it's the first thing you're gonna start doing if you decide to start working on your car. I've never actually changed the oil on this bad boy, but I have changed the oil on my old Jetta, and this was years ago. And the reason why I decided not to do any oil changes of this was really just laziness, and I really didn't want to have to deal with the used oil. But looking online, there's like a dump station close by that you just bring the used oil, and I think it's even free. So I figured I'd give it a shot. Previously, I would just drain my Jetta's oil into old paint cans and then leave the paint cans on my dad's porch and let him deal with it. In addition to just showing you how to change your oil, I wanted to talk about some of the general maintenance items you can take a look at while changing your oil, and also talk about like the processes that I go through before I start working on my car. So in other words, I figured I would take a very boring subject and boring video and then just stretch it out as long as possible. So come along with me, guys, and maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you won't. We'll see. This goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways. It's a good idea to verify you have the right tools before starting a job. What I like to do is I'll go on YouTube, see if there's any good videos. I'll check out the repair manual. It doesn't show you what tools you need, but it shows you how to take things apart, or the steps to take things apart. It gives you good indication. And honestly, just get in there. Get your hands dirty. Start taking things apart, looking at stuff, and just do a reconnaissance mission. Let's get into the actual tools I will need. So we have sockets. This is just for the undercover, associated ratchets. The undercover also has some retainer clips, so retainer clip removal tool, and or flathead screwdriver. The drain plug requires an Allen bit, so I believe it's 8mm. So I got sockets. I'm sure you can also use the Allen wrenches. My torque wrench, I have a pail. I got Big Blue. I use this for my transmission fluid, and I made sure I cleaned it with soap. Our oil filter removal tool. However, I borrowed this from my dad. It will not work with the oil filter I have. It's too big. So I'm gonna have to do some problem solving. And don't forget your jack and jack stands. Before we get into how I'm going to solve my little problem, let's talk about the different types of oil filter removal tools. There is the strap type, like that. There are the pliers type, like that. And then there's the socket type, like that. Man, these edits are amazing. The pros to the socket type is you can actually attach it to your torque wrench and torque it down. The con is one size I doubt fits all. Now, speaking of torque, it's not a lot of torque. It's, when I was looking, I read 100, and I was like, no, there's no way. It was 100 inch-pounds. So that translates to 16 foot-pounds. As I mentioned, that's not a lot. So if you don't have the torque wrench or the socket type and torque wrench, I don't think it's a big deal. Just give it a nice little snug. Now, addressing my issue. So for the removal, I'm just going to use a big old pair of channel locks, grip on, and just rip it off. Now, I'm a little nervous using that to install it because I might damage it, which I don't want. So I'm thinking 16 foot-pounds, not a lot. Why don't I use the best tool of all? My God-given hands. But I want to make sure that I can actually twist around 16 foot-pounds. So let's do a little experiment. All right, this one goes out to the Mythbusters in the science community. So I've put my torque wrench in a vise, 16 foot-pounds, and let's see what I can do. All right, hear that click? That means I'm a big, strong boy. So that'll work. I'm happy with that. Correction on the torque. It actually translates closer to 12 foot-pounds, not 16. But regardless, we're good. My hands can handle it. Now, if you got weak little hands, I'm just kidding. But if you don't have one of these tools and don't want to buy one of these tools for removing the oil filter, there are other alternatives. You could use a ratchet strap where you wrap it around. I'll show a little picture right here. Boop. Or you can grab something. I've already set this up, like a little belt or a strap and a pair of channel locks. And let's see if I can do this one hand. Whatever. But you know, and just give it a little wrench. I just broke my belt, but that's okay. I think you get the hint. Be creative. There's lots of options out there. It's really just a round thing you got to twist off. So yeah, think about it. I don't know. Leave me alone. One last piece of advice that I heard is just keep fucking with it. If you're stuck on like an old rusty bolt or whatever, you can try different variety of tools. You can whack with a hammer. I just bought these extractor bits. You could apply heat. You could even start cutting things off. So an example of this is I was working on my front stabilizer end links. And anyone that's done this knows you get to a point where the whole kind of assembly just starts spinning and there's an Allen key that you're supposed to use, but it's all bullshit and it just wasn't coming off. So I just took a different approach. I grabbed my Sawzall with a metal blade and cut it off. There's always different ways of solving a problem. Social media has tons of little great tips. I think some guy named Gearhead Brian always has great little tips. YouTube. Just don't give up, be creative. So supplies, pretty simple stuff. We got our oil. OW20. Mazda recommends Castrol, but I believe that's just like a marketing deal between Castrol and Mazda. Looking online, what I've determined is as long as you're buying a name brand oil, they're all pretty equivalent unless you're doing some high-end type stuff, which I assume you're probably not if you're watching this video and you're driving a Mazda 3. No shame on Mazda 3, of course. This was on sale at Canadian Tire, so yeah, awesome. And this is also what Jiffy Lube uses, who I've been going to for the last few years. Then we have our oil filter, and then we have a crush washer or gasket. You're supposed to replace these every time you change your oil. So you see here, I actually bought a new bolt. The reason being is this has like an Allen head. And these certainly can round out. So I just wanted to replace it now and get ahead of it. Now for the crush washer, it is a 14 millimeter inside diameter and I think 20 outside, because this is a M14 bolt, which essentially just means that the thread diameter is 14 millimeters. Somewhere down the line of either general maintenance at Mazda or oil change, someone did not put my undercover back for the maintenance hole. So I ordered a new one that's not in yet, but I will need some bolts along with some retainer clips. Now, talking about sourcing, like how do you figure out what you actually need? Starting with the oil, this is pretty simple. You can either Google it or just check the owner's manual. Make sure you buy the correct grade. I don't think that's negotiable. For the filter, you just go to parts store. Tell them what vehicle you have. Make sure you know like the trim and the size of the engine. Models have different trims and different engine sizes. So that will change the components and parts you need. For the crush washer. Now, if I didn't buy a new drain plug, you would need to purchase some crush washers. Now, I did that. I got ahead of myself and I bought a pack off of Amazon. They're not in yet, and I don't even need them, so it's all good. I just had to Google it. I checked out Google's AI. I checked out what ChatGPT recommended, and I read a few threads. Something like this, it's just like, it's so random, and you get a bunch of different answers and a different random part numbers. Once some of the answers start aligning, I was pretty confident, and then I just pulled the trigger. The ones I bought actually are the same measurement as this, so I lucked out, I guess. For these bad boys, these were difficult. These are just a really weird part. Google AI, I couldn't find like an actual like part number or like, the exact type of bolt I need. So essentially what I did is I just went under my car, popped this little, I think it's called a U-nut out. And this is just plastic. So it is a little forgiving. You don't need to get the thread spacing exact, but you do want to get the diameter. But yeah, I just went to a few parts stores and hardware stores and found something that would work. And most importantly, what I wanted was to make sure that it still had a metric hex head, preferably 8 or 10 millimeters. These are 8. So I actually got these at a parts store. And this is like a M5 20 mil. It does thread in, so that worked out. But yeah, it just took a little trial and error. I know, like, at least for me, it's very intimidating when you're going to parts stores, and you definitely don't want to look stupid in front of those guys. But yeah, I mean, just as long as you know your model and your trim and the size of your engine, they can just look it up on the computer. And most of the time, they're very, very friendly and very, very helpful. Just do a little bit of research, become as prepared as possible. You know, mistakes can be made. I was at Canadian Tire one time. I forget what I was buying. The guy just assumed that I had a 2.5 liter. I did not. I have a 2 liter. And right before I left the counter, I just verified. I was like, wait, this is for a 2 liter, right? And he was like, oh, no, sorry. Luckily, I corrected that because if I hadn't, I would have gone home, took apart my car, went to put everything together, and then realized, oh, it doesn't fit. And then I would have been like, wait, did I order the wrong thing, or was there a mistake, or it just would have been a bad story. So yeah, just do a little bit of research before, come prepared, know the name of like the parts you're looking for, and yeah. Something that's good to do while you change your oil or just periodically is checking the oil level. So this will tell you if maybe you're burning oil or maybe you have an oil leak. It's just good to know. So that looks pretty good. So we warmed the car up to operating temperature. I've chocked the tires. Now I'm ready to get this thing in the air. I'll be jacking from the front center point, and then I'll be putting the jack stands on the jacking points along the rail. Now it's very important that you know where your jacking points are. You could kill yourself or seriously injure yourself, and maybe best case scenario, damage your car. Now speaking of damage, some jackass must have jacked up from the wrong spot. Got a little bend in there. Just another reason to do it yourself. So whether you're looking for jacking points or how to take things apart, I have a repair manual I got for free at allcarmanuals.com. It's really helpful. It doesn't show too much stuff like part numbers, but you can buy a better repair manual or more detailed at emanualonline.com. It's been very helpful for me, and I recommend it for anyone wanting to work on their car. All right, she's up in the air. I've let it down a little bit, put some weight on the jack stands, obviously not a lot. But one thing you want to check on whenever your car's up in the air is if there's any play in the tires. You pray that you don't find any play, but it's a good check regardless. If you find something wiggly, that's bad news. It could be a wheel bearing, a tie rod, or I don't know, something I have no idea how to fix. So I'm glad these are sturdy. Let's check the other side. Uh-oh. I have a little play. So join me for my next video where I fuck. So this is not great. I don't know if this amount of play is detrimental. It's certainly not normal. So I'll have to think about this. Maybe I'll take it to a shop. We'll see. All right, we're under here. Now's a good time to just do some checks. See if anything's leaking. Look at some random parts that you have no idea what they are. But in general, things are usually connected to other things. So if you see something hanging down loose or it's rattling around, it's probably broken. You can also see, I got a lot of rust here. I made a mistake. I did not do any rust coating when I bought the car. I recently just did it last fall, but a little too late. Lesson learned. We're getting there, I promise. But one more thing before I drain this thing dry. Always think about a plan B. Before you make your vehicle inoperable, think about if you run into an issue. Are you going to be able to make it to a parts store? Do you live close to a parts store? This happened to me when I was changing my brakes. I noticed the caliper slider pin boots were cracked, so I had to replace it. Luckily, my sister lives close, so I was able to bum a ride from her, and it all worked out. But just think about that. The last thing you want to do is embarrass yourself, have to bring your car to a mechanic by tow truck and get them to fix it. All right, so I got my 8 mil on.
stupid fucking bucket. All right, gonna crack it. Okay, let's try and make as little mess as possible. It is gonna shoot out. Oh fuck, dropped the bolt.
How embarrassing.
One thing I forgot to mention is crack the fill cap in the hood. Make it go quicker. So while that's draining, let's take a look at the air cabin filter.
Hi. So, checking the air cabin filter, very, very easy. Just go in the glove box here. There's a little, I guess, shock hydraulic thingy that you just pull out. Pop it out, and then you squeeze in sides here. Oh, fuck. All your stuff will fall on the ground. That's okay. And then it's right in here. So you pull this bad boy out and give it a look. Now this is brand new, I just replaced it, but it was full of crud. Mazda, I believe, recommends changing it every, what was it, 40,000 or 2 years. But it's a good idea just to check it every time you change your oil.
I'm gonna get the drain plug in here, just hand tight, so I can get this stupid oil filter out. Oh, I hope I don't drop the new drain plug. Nah, I would never. Just kidding, guys. Give it a nice little wipe down and get this big old jug out of here. All right, let's see if I can get this filter out by hand. No, thought I was so strong. One thing I did notice though, as I was draining the oil, is I smell some gasoline. I don't know if that's normal or not. If you're watching this and you know, please let me know. Okay. My old friend, the paint can. See how much of a mess I make. Oh God, oh God. Praise be the Lord. I have no idea if you saw any of that. Okay, let's get this cleaned up. Opa. One thing I saw online you want to check is make sure that the gasket of the oil filter is not stuck up there, or you'll have a double gasket and it will not seal. Regarding the filter installation, there is some debate about that.
And the question is, should you pre-fill your oil filter? Looking online, there's pros and cons to both. So if you don't pre-fill your oil filter, you run the risk of, I guess, what they call a dry start, and it will take a little bit of time for the pump to pump the new oil through the filter and up into the engine, which can cause unnecessary wear to your engine. Now, the risk of pre-filling your oil filter is you can get particulates or junk into the oil. Now, the way this works is the unfiltered oil will enter in through the circumference, go through the filter itself, and then up into your engine. So if you get junk and shit in there, this goes straight into the engine. It will not be filtered. I think I'm gonna pre-fill it. I'll be careful, but wish me luck.
I was gonna torque down the drain plug because the filter kind of gets in the way. It's 23 to 30 foot-pounds, so I'm doing, whoa, I'm doing 30. Okay, that's good. I was gonna show you the old drain plug, but it fell into the oil, so that's never to be seen again. Now the filter.
One thing you didn't see is you want to oil up the gasket on the oil filter. You can use the old oil or the new oil. I don't think it matters.
So I filled this guy up. Obviously, if your filter is in a horizontal orientation, you wouldn't really be able to fill it up. This is vertical, so it's all good. All right, let's see these strong hands in action. 16 foot-pounds. Or 12, I mean. Okay, we're good. All right, I lowered the car down. She's basically level. So we got 5 liters here. The manual recommends 4.2 liters with the oil filter, but I filled up the oil filter, so closer to 4. As you're filling, you just want to check the level periodically. And I know it's tempting to think it's better to overfill than underfill. You don't want to do either. Overfilling, I don't know exactly why, but it can make the oil frothy and add air bubbles in there, which is bad for the engine. So you just want to get it right in between the lines there. Okay, once you've got in between the lines, go ahead and turn on your vehicle and run it for around 30 seconds, maybe around 2,500 RPM. Honestly, don't know. I don't remember what Jiffy Lube always asks me to do. Just getting that oil flowing. And then once that's warmed up, check the level again. Be professional about it though. All right, we jacked the car back up. Just gonna check for some leaks. Everything looks pretty dry. Job well done, boys. All right, at this point, I would have put back my undercover, but as I mentioned, it's gone. The new one's in the mail though. Let's reset the infotainment maintenance schedule thing. So under applications, maintenance, oil change, and then reset. The manual states 8,000, every 8,000 kilometers or every 4 months. 4 months just seems way overkill. I did a quick ChatGPT search and they say oil can degrade over time or will degrade over time. Also, there's a buildup of acid and moisture. They said you should change it annually if you make a lot of frequent small trips where your engine's not really heating up or warming up to operating temperature, maybe twice a year. But I don't know. The manual states 4 months. I know I've gone further than 4 months, but maybe you should trust the manual. Really though, who's to say? All right, so I just did a quick ChatGPT search. It is normal to have some gasoline smell in your oil. And then I stopped reading because I didn't want to read the rest because it's scary. No, but seriously, it is normal for a little bit of smell, but a lot of smell is an issue. I don't know what I'm smelling. Is that a lot? Is that a little? It smells like gasoline. It's pretty strong. So, fuck this car, man. It's falling apart. Ah! All right, we did it, or rather, I did it. You may be asking yourself, why are you doing this? When you can go to one of those service stations and be in and out in 10 minutes. And at least for me, it's fun learning new things. It's empowering when you're able to do things on your own. It makes you feel manly as fuck. And last, and maybe most importantly, you save some cash. So I believe last time I changed my oil at Jiffy Lube, it was $140 for the oil and filter. Checking up on my list here. So the oil I bought cost me $40. That was on sale, as I noted. The filter was $10. The gaskets or crush washers I did not use from Amazon were $10 for a 5-pack, so that's $2 each. Or alternatively, you could just buy a new drain plug with a gasket for $7. So that's a total of, around $60. That's a savings of $80. I can buy a sick-ass tool for $80. I do apologize. This is a very, very long video for something so simple and silly as changing your oil. But hopefully you got some value out of it. You learned something. If you didn't, again, I'm sorry. But take care and thanks for watching.